Hey, I've got Rachael Cannon
Hello, Amy.
here. We're just gonna chat, you guys. Um, I've got Made for More and I put some things out there, and it's like kind of a hodgepodge of different things on our journey through life. And you guys, I got to know Rachael last year. Well, actually, it's probably been in 2023 still, but early in the year. And uh, through the Mirror Word Study Bible group and just some things that I'm doing on a social community. And then I got a copy of her book, The Year I Learned to Fly, and was so excited to start reading that. And I'm going to explain a little bit of that. But then she's got another book that recently came out, Lambs and Lilies, and that's blowing me away. And so Rachael's my friend, and we're just going to chat on here a little bit about how it's impacted me, why she's writing these books, and how that all came about. And hopefully we'll cover some an overview of that today, and then just see where it goes, and maybe come back for more in-depth dive on some of her entries. But yeah, Rachael, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to get to talk with you. I just love you so much. I fell in love with you the first time I saw you on Zoom. I'll never forget it. I joined the Mirror Zoom Bible study back in January after I had stalked the page for about 6 months,
I love
reading
that.
everybody's delicious comments. And then I'll never forget after the first Zoom study, I just laid in bed and I just laughed and cried all night. I felt like I had found my people. There was so much grace, so much inclusion in the conversations after the Bible study. Nobody picked each other to pieces. That was new to me.
That's awesome.
And nobody tried to get you to believe what they were believing. Nobody told you if you were wrong for believing the way that you might believe. It was just so much grace and so much inclusion. And yeah, so then getting to know you, Amy, I mean, after I don't know, we started talking on the phone a couple times, and then we did a few FaceTime calls. I think I was going through something with one of my family members, and
Yeah.
I was, can you talk on the phone? So you helped me walk through just a really deep relationship issue that I was having in my heart. Remember that?
I do. It was awesome to me too.
And then about a month after that, I ended up on the beach, babysitting a beach house. And so you got to come visit, and we just fell in love. My sister loves you. It was just, it was amazing.
It was. And prior to that, I had ordered a copy of The Year I Learned to Fly. And I started reading this. Can I just tell a little bit about that
Please, yeah,
for a
do.
second? Because so this book, it's a simple read, it's small. And these are 143 musings of Rachael's journey of flying, you guys, differently than we have historically with our, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but like how when we grow up in church and just the way we see and view and learn about our relationship with Christ. And then sometimes we step into a different place. We have different experiences. Sometimes, I know for me, and Rachael could speak to this, but through adversity, a lot of times is where we really encounter like the living God, like where he shows up in some deep, dark, heavy places when we realize we can't do stuff on our own. And then she starts writing experiences and encounters that, as she grows in her walk with Christ, her that love, that relationship, that understanding of the indwelling presence, as we say, the finished work of Christ, that he is here, he's living in us. It's more than just this God's up there, but God's in here. And then there's a deep well to be explored with that.
Mhm.
And Rachael's book started blowing me away from literally the beginning. Um,
Oh,
and this is why I am so passionate about her writings, because when we hit those times in our life that we want more, that we know that we're made for more, we start to connect with something way bigger than us. and we hear and are creating space to hear God speaking to us, there are similar veins that you hear in certain people that speak to that they're like, I know what you're talking about. I understand that. And we feel a little unique. We feel different. And from literally where is it? Page 7, which is the first one. It says, first entry, he plants seedlings. He plants the seedlings. The sprouts are growing into strong stems. The branches are budding and the buds are blossoming beautifully. And then down to the bottom of that page, he watches her grow. She grows in the dark and she grows in the light, in the day and in the night. She grows when she cries and she grows when she laughs.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of entries that you put in there, girl, that literally so speaks so deeply. The language is just like of my heart. And I would read this and the tears would just well up. I'm like, she gets it. But she gets something even more than many of us understand. And these musings invite us into what you've experienced.
Wow.
And gives space and gives name and gives voice to the longings of the human heart. And man, so tell us a little bit about this journey of writing this one first.
Well, this really, it came after a long, I don't know, it was probably about, let's see, it was maybe about 6 or 8 months when I had just been kicked out of my church. And so my whole theology was crumbling. All the things that I tried to do before to feel better about life or about myself. I'm talking about spiritual warfare, casting and binding, declarations, prayer, fellowship, all the things that I had been taught in my local church to do to help elevate myself, elevate me out of this despair that I found myself in, this rejection that I had found myself in. None of it worked. And so I found the Mirror Study Bible group. I started reading the Mirror Study Bible. And as I did, I'll never forget the first time I opened it. I just read a little bit and I could feel myself beginning to fly a little bit. But I could feel that it was going to change this message of Christ in me. No longer was I having to work to become somebody that I already was. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas I would search myself and try to find all these character flaws and defects and then confess them and put them on the altar all the time. That's what my old church taught me. All of a sudden, I started realizing, hey, I'm flawless? You mean me? I'm flawless. I'm perfect. You call me beautiful. You call me lovely. And my language started changing from past tense into present. I am this. I've just been recently looking back through my old journals and I realized that my language is always begging God. And it's like this past tense, like, please protect me. Please save me. Please clean me up. Please get me better. Make me whole. And now living in the finished work, the message of grace, it is finished. I realize that my language has changed now to I am whole. I am complete. I am protected. My mind is protected. Instead of begging God, please protect my mind, please protect my life and my heart. I'm like, nope, my life is so protected. My mind is so protected. So I feel like the year I learned to fly, it was the year that I really got free from the fallen mindset, right? I began to fly. I realized that I was co-seated with Christ all along, and nothing could ever take me out of that place of co-seatedness. I just needed to learn how to live from there. And so to me, the flying mind is I'm constantly co-seated in Christ Jesus, with Christ Jesus. I'm in the beloved. And so living from that place, I don't go through the battles that I used to go through.
That's,
Does that make sense?
oh, it so makes sense. And I mean, like your book coupled with the mirror, and then a lot of other incredible books that are out there that are not as mainstream, but are life-changing. That shift of the mindset, like and so what I was hearing you say, Rachel, because I can so relate to this, it's a
Mm.
shame shackled mindset,
Yeah.
but yet it's kind of, I won't say everywhere, but many places we've grown up with that, or at least different seasons in traditional Western Christian settings,
Yeah.
is we're grasping to get into something, and so we don't feel worthy. But if we really look at what scriptures say, like you said, it is finished, that he's done these things, it's been accomplished. Somehow we miss that part because we're so used to operating in a shame mindset of we're never enough. Um, that like a fallen Adam mindset versus seeing that the Christ was the new, the second Adam, right? And it's done, it is finished. There is no more discussion. Now walk and live in it.
Yeah.
It's just easier to just beg for it when we don't really feel like we're seeing it. But are we not seeing it because we're not manifesting it, because we're not, we're coming from a place of lack,
Yeah.
expecting more,
Right.
versus living from a place of enough, being enough already, the free gift given, and then living from that, and then drawing everything that someone who's got it all already can live out of. And
Yeah.
it's a very different shift. And for me, it's taken more than a minute
Right.
to live in that place, like of accepting that, oh my gosh, this is actually includes me. It includes all of my past. It includes all of my future. It includes the now. And that's invitation is not, I used to see myself as someone who, yeah, but if you only knew what I've done, you only know my past, if you only know my inadequacies or doubt, you wouldn't let me in. And so it was always that fear of like just not quite being in. And I grew up in a very Calvinistic kind of background stuff. So that also kind of came with my background.
Mm-hmm.
But this is life changing. And then you put it into real life, and it's incredible.
Yeah, when I was going through it so bad, I feel like I needed a new way to believe. My old way of believing was not cutting it for me. And so I needed a new way to believe. The Mirror Bible helped give me that new way to believe. But then as I would call people, I don't know, maybe I was looking for some sort of encouragement along the way, and nobody knew how to encourage according to the grace and the it is finished message. Everybody was still trying to tell me, oh, you better get to the root of this. You should go back through your family history and see if there's anything that you haven't forgiven, or maybe you should go back through and see if you have some binding and loosening to do and breaking some generational curses. And I thought, man, I've already done all that. I don't know how many times I've done all that stuff,
Me
and
too.
none of it seemed to work. And then when I just started believing what God believed about me, it was like boom, 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 boom. All this stuff was just being, I don't know if you want to call it broken off, but I think I was actually seeing it the way that God sees it.
Mhm.
And maybe that he had already dealt with it.
Yeah.
And
And
so
it's not
once
up
I,
to me.
right. So once I just started agreeing with the fact that he had already done it and that I was a completely new creation, then I was craving something to read that just reinforced what God believed about me. And so I feel like the year I learned to fly is just unconditional love, no strings attached. You, be the best you that you already are. You're growing and blossoming even when you can't see it. Even when you're crying, you're growing. And I really use that reference about my time in jail, because if you could see my mugshot, like I hold up my mugshot in jail, I've got my mugshot, then I have me, and I'll say, guess what? This me was inside of the mugshot girl. I was in there the whole time, and nobody told me. Everybody just told me, oh, you're going to be in and out of jail. You better go to AA and celebrate recovery, because you're going to be an alcoholic and a drug addict for the rest of your life. And I was believing things that people were telling me, rather than saying, what if we went into the jails and said, I see who you really are. I believe that you're great. Has anybody ever told you that you're not going to be a convicted felon for the rest of your life? You know?
Rachel, our world, we don't handle that very well. We want 6 steps to success. We want something mapped out that, is going to, and then there's always going to be a fallback on why it didn't work because you didn't do A, B, or C versus just receiving something that says, oh, this is who I am, not because of what I did, but because of what he's done.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
too simple.
It's too simple. It's too easy. And I even wrote about it in one of these, number 72, I wrote for the women inside of the Shelby County Jail in Alabama. And I say it's a hothouse. It was a greenhouse. And I basically say in there, do you know that you're growing and you don't even know it? Did you know that the fluorescent lights overhead are actually providing some kind of a growth? It's a greenhouse. You're in a greenhouse. You're safe. You're protected. The cinder block has actually become the loving arms of God that are around you. And so when they hear that, and then I'm like, I see you growing. I see you blossoming, and I believe in you. And when the girls hear that, they can't help but cry. They're like, what? We're growing even while we're in here. And I'm like, yeah, you are. You're growing.
You're growing. It's like I'm picturing that, Rachel, and it's so whether it's in a jail or it's in a business or a family or just anything, that's like words that speak and they cut to what the heart so longs to hear. Like, do we not all long to hear
Yeah.
that you are enough, that you are not going to always be in this place? And it bypasses the logical mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes right in. And then we do a lot of it. I don't know about you, but I mean, I can resist it. Those neural pathways that have been so conditioned in other ways. And for me, a lot of my life is I was my own worst critic. I will cut myself down. I will be the hardest on me, kind of going back into some patterns that were established. Like my father, he was my critical voice. And then so when he was no longer in charge of my life, I became the critical voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I was fighting my own self, thinking it was up to me to keep myself in line to make my life better, which actually drove it that way. Right. Because shame just would build and build versus a loving, tender, gentle father that just speaks life into you. And that's what you put in the amazing little vignettes or musings in here.
Yeah, I wanted to write something that I wanted to read that would encourage me, that would give me hope. But I realized too that you can read it. There's so many different layers to it. I feel like you can read it on one level and get something out of it, or you can really sit in it. It's inviting. I left it kind of wide open. One thing that I realized about theology books, I wrote another book when I probably wrote about 4 years ago. It's my first book, and it's really rich in theology. It's the story of the woman at the well, but I made a lot of general statements in there. And I don't know. I think that sometimes theology, we just get a hold of these broad statements. I'm trying to think of one right now. I can't think of one, but we use the word we a lot, or we tell people how they should believe. Does that make sense? Like in a theology book, you're basically telling your point of view sometimes, and then telling people why they should believe the way that you believe, or you'll back it up and say, this is what I believe. Maybe you could believe this too. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wanted to leave it open. I didn't want it to be a lot about, I want it to be very inviting. I didn't want to tell people how I believed. I didn't want to make them believe what I believed. I wanted to give them an opportunity to feel the Father, to feel his loving gaze, to feel his loving arms, to find themselves in a safe place where you could almost hear his breath tickle your ear when he says, I love you. You're mine. You're mine, and you didn't do anything to be mine. I did it all. I'm the one who made you mine, and I love you. And I think you're wonderful. I think you're perfect. And I've got you. I've got you protected. I've got everything that you need for your future. And just so a lot of these little things, he said these to me, every single one of these musings I experienced, and he said them to me. And then I thought, man, this is too good. I gotta share this with the world. The way that he speaks is just so gentle, so loving. He never raised his voice at me. And coming out of a church where they preached like, man, they would just get so excited about preaching it, but they would end up yelling at everybody like, and I was like, that is so scary to me.
Yeah, I was just saying, don't yell.
That is so scary. And one day I was just sitting in the lap of the Lord, and he was like, I'll never raise my voice to you. In fact, you'll hardly ever hear me above a whisper like this, because you're so close. I don't have to shout to get your attention.
Just warms my heart to think about.
Yeah,
And to talk. That's
yeah.
is like sharing it, and you're sharing it with the world.
Sharing it. Yeah. So this one, oh man, I loved the year I learned to fly. I really did. I learned to fly. I learned where I was seated. I learned where I live. I learned not only that am I co-seated in heavenly places, and this is baffling to me, is that we're co-seated in heavenly places, yet Christ is in us. So he's seated here. He's co-seated right in here. And so to me, I'm always flying then. I'm not trying to get up here. I'm always flying.
Oh, so good. Rachel, you're an eloquent writer. The way your choice of words that I feel like he's given you, but the way you convey each musing invites the reader in to I know you said there's layers and there's ways of seeing and reading, just like everything we get from the word. But I feel a similar kind of thing here. I can be invited into your experience if I want to just observe from a distance, right? And
Yeah.
just be exposed to something. I can take it in for my own experience and let him speak to my heart as I read. I can feel it emotively.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so many things going on here. So tell me how you moved from experiencing these things for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
moving into that place of going, I need to share this with others and convey it in a way that gives it life. And so just
Yeah.
how that unfolded for you.
Yeah. I think a lot of it honestly was just opening it up just by changing the pronouns too. And so I realized I wasn't just going to use me or I if I said she. And I really wrote this, I mean, for women. I know that men have read it too, but I really wrote this for women in jail and just for women who are struggling with identity or just hearing from the Lord. And so I just changed the pronouns a little bit to where if you take the word I and you turn it into she, then any woman can read it. And even some men have read it, like I said, but I feel like that really opened it up and just, I don't know, opening up the vision to where it's just the language. And really the Mirror Study Bible helped me. It was, I didn't know, I always knew that I was an author. I didn't know what kind of an author I would be. The Mirror Bible, the eloquence of the language and how Francois is such a, oh man, it's so lyrical. It's almost like a love ballad. It's almost like a sonnet. And the language sounds like a music to me. It sounds like a musical. And so you can find yourself in it. You have a part. You find your note, you find your part in it. And that really inspired me when I saw the freedom that he had in his translation. And not only that, but the language that he used. Oh man, it was just so enlightening. All of a sudden, what I hadn't understood for years about the Bible, I understood in an instant. And then I would sit there and laugh and cry all day in my underwear on the couch. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, no way. Are you serious? Like all of a sudden I understand and I'm like, am I supposed to be understanding this? Because they don't understand it where I came from.
And they don't act like we should understand it.
Right.
We're just supposed to trust. And we do.
I mean, really, I have to give so much credit to Francois and Lydia just for their beautiful presentation of the language in the Mirror Bible, because I feel like it released me. It gave me wings to fly in my own way. And so a lot of it is, it's not your typical Christianese language that you would hear. And that's what I love so much. Nobody was trying to make me believe what they believe. And that's why I wanted to keep it so open in here about the way that the Lord speaks, his tenderness, his gentleness, how he's not pointing out things in us that he doesn't like. So
the lens you approach scripture with, that's what you get.
yeah, right.
And that's the way we internalize it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you just said, Rachel, how like Francois writing, the eloquence, the sonnet-like structure painted a picture, invited you into it, you know, but then you're doing the exact same. So you're taking what you were exposed to. Somebody opened your eyes and went,
yeah.
and now you got a real life experience for yourself. And then you took that, captured that in eloquence in your own stories, and then did the same. So
Yeah.
then I'm just using myself. I got to do it and I get to pick it up and I get to live it in a different way.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do.
That's it. And you know, a lot of these encounters took place over the years. Like I was on the floor of my old church when I was in this really deep encounter with the Lord, and I turned into this little seahorse. And so it's amazing how the Lord took all these encounters and then I don't know, it just gave me the language to kind of talk about them when it was time for me to talk about them. And I'm still having encounters, and I'm still like going back through my old journals and finding I just found something this morning where I had written 7.5 years ago that as I look into the water, I can see my own face now. And so it was mirror language even back then, but I didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like you know, we are poetry. We are the poetry of God. We are living, breathing, walking poems. And so why not be free to be yourself? If you write in theology and Bible verses, that's great. But if you don't, is there a platform for the people who are poets and who are lyricists and who are troubadours? And, you know, so I wrote something that I just wanted to read, and I hope that people would like it. I'm so glad that you do.
You know, I would say there's a mystical crowd, a more, you know, the free spirit, the very deeply relationally connected, you know, like it drew me in. And for me, it was an answer to prayer of things that happen in my experiences and encounters with God, as well as just a call of the heart for a connection to, you know, for us to feel like maybe am I weird? Am I making this stuff up? You know, or with the way I hear God and the intimacy as he grows and opens those up, it was placed before me.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, there were just stories that resonated so, so deeply for me. I want to really quick, just even in number 2, Fly. this kind of goes back, and it speaks, I know, even to people beyond the mystic or to that free spirit or person, where it talks about where Jesus is speaking, but it says, like, it's basically these butterfly whispers. Who told you that you were not like me? Who told you you were naked? Who told you you were just a girl? Who told you you could not fly? And it's like a light bulb, something like, for people who inside start to realize but don't have anywhere that they've gone, they see that and just go, oh my gosh, it's true. This is a lie. Why am I believing this to be true about me? Who told you? Going back to scripture, but interweaving that into a story so beautifully and eloquently invites us into exploring this love relationship with our creator.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, like, I could go through each of these and have a conversation about them and want to know the background, and maybe we'll get to do some of those.
Yeah.
But number 4, exploring raindrops, just had me crying and crying, because it was my heart that I have silenced.
Yeah.
You know, in moments we just silence this, going, we're too childlike. Why can't I grow up? Why can't I be like what I think I'm supposed to be? And then you read somebody else's heart being captivated by their creator, and it gives you permission to fly, to explore.
Wow.
And that's a gift that I can't even put proper words to, Rachel.
Wow. Wow. Well, that makes me fly. Hearing that you're flying makes me fly even more, you know? But yeah, I just wanted to write it with no strings attached, no earth anchors attached to it. And I feel like the scripture is woven throughout, even though I don't have Bible references in this one. And then I love the power of words, and I love beautiful words. I love words that I've never heard before, that when I read them, I resonate with them. And so I wrote a lot of words that I didn't give the meaning to. And so that you can have fun and you can look it up if that's the kind of person that you are. Welcome to my world, really, because I love to look up a word and then I can go into an encounter or just get lost in the meaning of the word, or find out more and more about the word. And I'll just be, woo, that spoke something to me. And so writing, and maybe that's the difference of a theology book, is that in theology, you're writing to explain your understanding, right? And in this, I left it wide open. My goal is that you would hear the Lord for your own self in the way that he speaks to you. And so I haven't explained anything. I didn't explain how I got to here, and I didn't give you an explanation on like why you should read this, or what it's all about. I just put it out there and said, I hope you like it.
That is bold and brave and really beautiful.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is that, how this happened too is I journal a lot. Like, I'll journal a lot in the mornings. And so one day, somebody called and asked me, are you going to write another book? And I said, no, dude, I'm done. I'm not writing any more books. I'm never going to church again. I think I might be done with all this stuff. I wasn't done with the Lord, but I was definitely done with institutionalized Christianity. And I just couldn't see myself ever writing another book. And it made me sad, honestly. I would sit there and just think, man, I just feel so ripped off by the church. I just feel ripped off, and I would have a little pity party. And then one morning I just heard the Lord, and he said, it's time to write. And I was like, what are we going to write? And he said, go back through your journals and write down some of these different things that I've taught you. And so I started writing. And when I finished, I could not believe that I had a book. I really couldn't believe it. And then I was like, well, I'll be damned. I got a book.
And are you referring to the year I learned to fly, or
Yes, I'm
more that's
referring to the year I learned to fly. I could hardly believe that I had a book. And then as I was formatting it and putting it together, I was reading it and crying myself. I could hardly believe I was growing, even when I was sitting on the couch crying and bewildered. And I didn't know what was going on in my life after I left the church. I was growing the whole time and I had no idea. It was really such a miracle. It was such a miracle because I was so confused leaving the church, and I just didn't know, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. But one thing that I kept doing was every night and every morning, I would just crawl up into the lap of God and I would say, hold me. None of the spiritual warfare stuff is working. Hold me. And while he was holding me, he was speaking to me so much about who I really am, how much he really loves me. And that just, it healed my heart. It really did.
shifting our focus off of the circumstance
Yeah.
onto our Father.
Yeah. Yep. And this way is so much better because I'm not dependent on a system of people anymore. I love the people who the Lord's placed in my life. And that's probably why it was so hard for me, is because I'm such a big lover. I have such a big heart that when I lost 350 friends in one day, it devastated me. Do you know what I mean? Like when I got released from this church, it just really devastated me. And now I'm like, wow, I don't feel like my love is attached to their approval anymore. My love is unconditional now. Even if my new friends or my old friends stopped loving me today, I would be okay because I have him inside of me now. It's not this external thing where I'm trying to do stuff externally. I'm really living from within. I'm living from Christ inside of me. He shared his love with me, and now I get to share it with other people, but it's not twisted, it's not distorted, it's not perverted, it's not disfigured. It's a beautiful mirror image, but if they walked away from the mirror, I would be okay.
If they walked away from the mirror, I would be okay.
I would be okay. I would be. Yep.
That resonates right now with me a lot. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It's true. And so why am I okay? I'm okay because he is in me. He's told me who I truly am. He's told me how much he loves me. And it's not based on anything that I could ever do. I'm not trying to earn it anymore. And that's why I love our Zoom study so much, because I'm no longer trying to seek approval from other people. I'm free to be myself and to live completely loved.
And you know what's coming to my mind, Rachel? It's like we need people that we're all on different places on that. Like sometimes for me, the pendulum kind of swings. There's times we kind of forget
Yeah.
people that have gone before that are maybe not further ahead. Very important to say,
Yeah.
but maybe seeing some things that are inviting people, taking people by the hand and saying, come see what I see.
Yeah.
See what I see about me, and I see it about me, I can show you all the more. Being able, like, we can't give what we don't possess, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like in the Western church, we're operating in that so much. We're not quite owning things, but we're trying to give something a lot. And we're just walking with people at different places, but yet this is the truth, rooted and grounded in this truth of who we are. It's already done,
Yeah.
like seeing beyond the circumstances, seeing beyond this like earthly realm into the truth, the reality, the heavenly realms.
Right.
And sharing the experience that you have is going to look different than somebody else.
Yeah.
But we're inviting people in. It's a shift of the paradigm. If we don't have a grid for something, understanding that free love how that looks when we walk in it. I don't know. It's pretty crazy and beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I had to have that change in my whole belief system. I had to have it. It was essential for my future. It was essential for what the Lord had prepared for me to do, going in and out of the county jails around here, to be able to love people with no strings attached. Now I'm able to love with no strings attached. I'm not trying to get them to believe what I believe. Do you know, like when I go in to minister to the women in the jail, I'm not saying, you need to believe what I believe. And if you don't, we're not going to be able to be friends. And if I see an area of your life that I don't agree with, then I'm going to withhold my love from you, you know? Or I feel like I need to change you.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Or I'm going to try to fix that. Oh, you came in here to church. Now let me see what I can find that's wrong with you so that I can fix you. And no longer am I doing that anymore. I realize all the pressure's off me. I do believe that Jesus Christ is the savior of the world. He saved the world. And so all the pressure's off me. Now I just get to love people right where they are. And by doing that, I show them the Father.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. You've got two incredible books. I feel like because we've been on here a long while, like maybe we do another one and jump in and chat a little bit about this, but just getting a little bit of a background and overview of who you are, how these came about.
Yeah.
And just, you guys, they're good. They're such juicy nuggets of invitation of who we are, understanding who we are, being loved. Like, I can read one of these musings and be invited in to something so deep and powerful in a matter of a 3-minute read that maybe takes me out of my head for a moment and into the heavenly realities that I'm invited in, I'm included in. It's so good, Rachael.
Yeah, we're all included. That's what I love about it so much. You know, the Mirror Study Bible really hits home, a home run on the all-inclusive message of the gospel. No longer is it us and them, we're all included. And that part really, really messed me up. You know, then I wasn't out trying to fix everybody. I wanted to read something if you'll let me share one thing.
Share whatever you want.
Okay, so, you know, I'm going back through my journals again. This time I'm going back further, all the way back to the beginning. And, you know, if we're talking about how we're constantly growing, sometimes we just need to be reminded that we're constantly growing, we're constantly changing. Sometimes we need gardeners in our life who will just say, look, you're doing just fine. You're growing. It's okay. It's kind of like what Lydia said in one of her videos the other day. She said, you don't always have to bloom. Sometimes you could just be. You could just be you. You don't always have to bloom. And so I realized, you know, it was March the 12th in 2016 that God basically swooped me up and rescued me out of a life of addiction. And I was radically delivered in an instant from drugs and from withdrawals. I didn't have any withdrawals after March the 12th. He set me free in one moment. And I was going back through my journal, and on March the 23rd, this is what I wrote, just to let you know.
Yeah.
I was tired and hungry, and I snapped at the other girls in the house. Imagine that. And here's what I wrote, but I didn't run away. Oh my gosh, man. I stayed and we talked through it. This is the first time I didn't run when I got upset. This is the first time I felt hurt. I realize I don't know what I'm feeling, mostly anger, best expressed in cussing and yelling and fast feet. I can pack a bag faster than anyone I know. But today I didn't run away. I'm changing. And that was only 2 weeks after I got to this beautiful radical restoration ministries home, and God was already changing me, and I didn't even know it. All I knew is that I was mad, I was cussing, I was yelling, and I didn't know why I was so angry at that point after 43 years of addiction and not feeling like I was getting what I needed. Of course, I was angry, but being addicted for so long, I didn't know how to articulate what I was really feeling. So just like a little kid, I couldn't say like, um, or like a baby can't tell you, it hurts right here. I couldn't tell you, it hurts right here. I would just snap on people and cuss them out, or maybe you want to fight a little bit. But really, my MO was probably running. I could cuss out a family reunion and hit the road and just let them deal with that. You know? That's
Yeah.
what I was good at. And so to go back and read this 2 weeks after I had been radically set free, I could see the Lord, how he was already starting to renew my mind. And I had no idea what he had in store for me. All I could tell you was that I'm still here and I'm changing. And then I'm sure I continued to cuss people out. I know that I did. In fact, I still cuss people out sometimes.
Okay, yeah, I can too. I can have little moments of reaction and wanting to run.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
that is so interesting that, so I think it's really important for people to see that. Like, so you experienced a radical release from the drugs and the detox
Yeah.
process, but
Yeah.
it didn't mean everything was perfect after that. There's
Yeah.
a, but it gave you a sense of a certain amount of clarity, it sounds like, Rachael, to be able to go, I am changing.
Yeah.
He
I
is
was
moving.
aware
Yeah.
that something was going on, and just the fact that I stayed there because I had gone to so many other rehabs and either gotten kicked out or left on my own. Or, it didn't matter. I was homeless at one point. Wherever I stayed, I was either with family members or friends because I had no credit to get an apartment or anything like that. And so wherever I stayed, it was very easy for me to either get kicked out. And I tended to piss a lot of people off for some reason.
Some
And so I was
reason.
constantly getting kicked out. So just to recognize the difference that I cussed everybody out and we talked about it. And not only did we talk about it, I felt heard. I didn't feel like it was all one-sided. I don't know if you've ever been in it seems like a argument or some kind of a conversation where I would always feel so bombarded, like overwhelmed by people trying to tell me what a turd I was in my addiction. And it was probably true. But then I just couldn't come out from underneath that to even vocalize what I was feeling in here, you know? So that's
Mm.
huge. It's huge. We're growing and changing probably more than we can even see. And so I guess just the ability to stop and take a deep breath and just say, oh, I just grew a little bit more.
I just grew. Yeah. I mean, and literally, so that kind of comes full circle to that very first thing that I read on page 1, or really page 7, entry 1.
Yeah.
He watches her grow. She grows in the dark and in the light, in the day and the night. She grows when she cries, and she grows when she laughs.
Yeah.
And seeing ourselves like how he sees us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that shift versus those. And then, like you talked about, external versus internal, that shift starting to take place, whether it's loss of all those friendships or.
Yeah.
So what those externals say about who I am. So they're either saying, what a turd you are
Yeah.
as an addict or whatever, or, and then taking that as your identity for a long
Right.
time because they say so, or other kudos, like you were doing ministry school and things like that, those kudos,
Mm-hmm.
to now the internal that says all of that, whether it's praises or condemnation,
Yeah.
let me tell you who you are.
Right.
And let that become your reality and live from that place. So whatever does come at you now, and just keep growing there. And you know what, Rachel, we're all doing that in different ways, whether it's drugs, addiction, church, pain, family issues. I've got a lot of them right now myself, and a lot of baggage of different things. Everybody's, whether we call it, oh, that's a big one or a little, that's irrelevant. It's what causes trauma and pain to our own heart is our own experience. And he's like, I've got it all.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the cross did, right? Like, that's where he did. He entered into our hell, assumed all of that, took it on him. And now we get to decide if we're willing to let go of it. Some days we pick it up. Some days we go, absolutely take it and let me live into the truth of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just to be able to enjoy the love of God, to enjoy the unconditional love that's not motivated by if I'm doing good or if I'm doing bad, so to speak, whatever that really is. But to be able to enjoy just being so loved has been so freeing and life-changing for me, just to enjoy the stronghold of Abba's arms around me, knowing that all is well and all shall be well, and it's okay. I'm doing much better than I think I'm doing, and that he's got it. Like you said, he's got it all. Enjoying being so loved and enjoying our oneness, our union, that has been life-changing for me. Life-changing. And nobody teaches you that in the church.
Not much. It's kind of on a real light level, but we miss it. And then when we start to hone in, and things are shifting everywhere, we're going to keep seeing more change.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, for this first recording, we've given it a really good high level, but you know, if we've sparked anybody's curiosity, this is an incredible book to get on Amazon. Check it out, get copies for people for Christmas time, and Lambs and Lilies also. And I think I would love to be able to just do more. So if you guys are interested, come and check back, that maybe we'll do some diving into a few of these periodically and just have shorter little times to talk about this and get just what it means to Rachel, what it means to me, and get some feedback and sharing. I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. I just love you. And thanks just for the opportunity to let me share my heart about how these, and wanting to know how I wrote these and why I wrote them. That is so sweet of you. And I really do. I pray that people will find these and that they'll find themselves to be so loved that it changes their lives. I pray that more and more authors would come out and start writing beautiful, beautiful love story books in their own language, not trying to repeat somebody else's language. I just see women and men blossoming like flowers. I see them with pens in their hands, sitting outside by the ocean or in a forest, and just bringing back to life these beautiful love ballads. The troubadours are rising up again, right? Oh my gosh, and we're drunk with love. We're mad with love. We're drunk on bliss. We're drunk on the wine of the Spirit, and just alive with love. And we see our Maker's face in every flower, right? We see him everywhere. We see him in the person on the street. We see him in the person sitting next to us. We see him everywhere. How can we not write about that?
Yeah. I know. And that's what, you know, we keep looking for these massive solutions to change the world. And it's like, how about if we just each see ourselves as we truly are, and then give others permission to do the same?
Yeah. And to do what you love to do, and not fit into the current mold, just to be called like a Christian book or something, you know, to come out of that, of the Christianese language, and just to be yourself, filled with love and grace and inclusion, and the finished works, the message of the finished works, man, that just messes me up so much.
It totally does. And it does. It changes everything. And you can elevate your internal space as soon as you remember. It can take you right, like it's like, oh, wait, this is who I am.
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
can face whatever we got in front of us.
Yay.
Well,
thank you so
thanks
much. I
for this
love you. I
first
think that
time.
you are amazing. I just
Hey,
love you so much. You're wonderful.
love you so much. I'm gonna just hit stop record here real quick.